Good afternoon. This shiur is on Mesilat Yesharim Perek 22, part 1. Beshem Hashem Naaseh V'Natzliach. So this shiur is dedicated to the safe return and success of our chayalim and hostages, and to refuah shelema to our chayalim, to our hostages, and all cholim, all the sick ones among Am Yisrael, and among them Zechariah Dov ben Pearl Shira, Abraham ben Chana. It is also dedicated Le'enlui Nishmat, all those were murdered on October 7, and since then, and also to the Neshama, Le'ilui Nishmat, Abraham ben David ve'Rina. May his Neshama have an Aliyah. And to all our singles, may Hashem bring them that true zivug, and sheyizku livnot bayit ne'eman beYisrael bekedusha ubetahara. Thank you to my listeners for tuning in and taking the time to listen to the shiurim. May Hashem bless you with much hatzlacha in all that you do, and merit to grow in Torah. Hashem sefatai tiftach ufi yagid teilatecha. Thank you, Hashem, for all your chasadim and your nisim, your miracles that you have done. And please, Hashem, continue to help us and protect us and guide us. So, the Ramchal in Perek 22 speaks about anava, humility. Humility is really the core of our essence, is really a very important character trait that is essential for our avodat Hashem, for serving Hashem, for having a normal social life, for being able to have a relationship with our husbands, our families, siblings, neighbors. Anava is a very important trait. So Ramcha really writes quite a bit about it. And he says like this: the general idea of anava, of humility, is for a person to give importance to himself for any reason whatsoever. Do not give importance to yourself for whatever reason, whatever you may have achieved, or whatever you may have done, whatever you may have managed to understand in your learning, in whatever it is, or in your success. Do not feel that you are above everyone else. This trait of anava is actually the opposite of haughtiness, of ga'ava, of feeling above others. And because ga'ava really means to consider yourself important because of your intelligence, because of your talents, because of your good character traits, because of your achievements, etc., whatever it may be. So the results that come from this trait of anava, which is the opposite of ga'ava, they are really the opposite of ga'ava. The Ramchal says there are two basic elements of anava, humility. When we examine this matter, we find that anava depends both in spirit, our outlook, and in deeds, in our actions. So number one, anava in outlook, in our spirit. One must first be humble in his spirit. That's the number one first on the inside, you have one has to be and regard himself as humble. And then, as a result, person will conduct, will behave himself in a manner that is humble in front of everyone, or even just when he's by himself. And this is really crucial, very, very important. That number one, we should first feel on the inside that we are humble. And Ramchal explains, if one is not humble in his personal outlook and spirit, yet he wishes to behave as if he's humble, right? On the outside, he makes it look as if he's humble. He'll only be a hypocrite. Rambam calls that a hypocrite. And the Ramchal, sorry, not Rambam, the Ramchal says there's nothing in the world worse than hypocrites. So it's like sometimes people, some people feel they really feel that the world owes them something because they are better, they look better, they own better, more, they're richer, they have better homes, better cars, better whatever it is. So they feel they're above others, right? But in front of some people, they try to really show, oh, no, it's okay, I don't need this, or whatever, I don't need this honor, it's okay. But really, people who really know them well know it's all a game. It's all a farce. Because people can see through someone who is really a Baal Anava or Baal Ga'ava. Because people can really see someone who is humble, who is truly humble, and someone who is just, he's a Ga'ava, he's arrogant. He has naughtiness, but haughtiness, but he's pretending to be humble. The Ramchal says we have to be careful, because later on he says he gives us an advice that if we have ga'ava, if we feel above others, so he says it is important to remember that this does not mean that every act of humility must be an exact reflection of one's level of spirit in humility. It means like this. If, for example, I don't have gava, and by the advice of the Ramchal, he says, even if you have gava, pretend at the beginning, but really pretend truly, not just to pretend, but really to fix yourself. There is a very big difference. That's not called a hypocrite. Because you're trying to get the trait of Anava. It's like the Rambam says that someone who is a miser doesn't want to share his tzedakah, but he knows he's a miser and he needs to correct himself. So what does he do? Rambam says you have to go to the other opposite. It means spend money, spend. You're not really a spender, but you spend and you spend and you spend, and you slowly you come to the Shavil Hazahav. You come to the middle way. It means you're not a spender, but you're not a miser. Again, of course, it's going to take time and effort to work on it, but this is how it is done, to correct a trait. So the Ramchal says sometimes for someone who is not humble, but he would like to become humble, he wants to correct his this trait of having ga'ava. So what does he do? So he pretends with the goal of becoming humble. He pretends to be humble with the goal of becoming humble. So later on, as I said, Ramchal teaches us that one way to achieve inner spirit, like inner humility, anava, is to slowly practice himself anava, which then eventually it will have a positive effect on one's spirit, on one's inner attitude. So it's like they tell you, even if you don't feel like smiling, smile, 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 smile. And then because you smile, you're forcing yourself to smile, it will come. Your smile will come. So it's the same idea again. And then you will come to really, truly smile. But then Ramchal says what is not acceptable, and the Ramchal is warning us about here, is for a person to ignore the need to achieve an inner sense of humility. That is not acceptable. We'll see later on why not. And to just allow to follow its own outward signs. And just allow oneself to just go, oh, I feel like I want honor now, so that's what I'm going to get. And I'm going to work on this to be honored, or to get whatever it is my ga'ava is pushing me to get. And we just had Purim, so we have an excellent example from Haman. Haman, who was a billionaire. He was so rich, right? When he comes to Achashverosh, and Achashverosh could not sleep, and Haman says to him, I want to hang Mordechai on the tree, right? And the king says, before he even has a chance to tell the king this is what he wants to do, the king tells Haman, I want to honor someone. What shall I do? How shall I honor that person? What does Haman say? The Megillah says it, black on white. What does Haman say? Who does the king wants to honor beside me? There's no one in the world. The entire world, no one that the king wants to honor more than me. And he's so sure that he's actually thinking and seeing himself with the king's crown on, and with the king's robe, and riding the king's horse around Shushan, and having someone who's saying, this is what the king does to honor someone. Wow. That's really gava. Gava in its fullest. And not only this, Haman goes on to say, all the riches, he said to his wife and to his family and friends, all the riches are not worth it for me as long as I see Mordechai, the Jew, doesn't bow down to me. You have billions. You're more powerful than him. More powerful than Mordechai. Yet, because one person doesn't want to bow down to you, all those billions mean nothing to you? Because of one person, to the point that he wants to kill every single Jew because of the one person. Wow, that's gava. And this is what the Ramchal is actually warning us. Do not allow yourself to go pushed and pulled by this gava. Don't follow it. And the Ramchal says, those who pretend on the outside to be anavim, to be humble, and that don't try to correct themselves, so Ramchal says these are hypocrites. And people can easily see through them. So now we come back to anava, to humility in spirit, right? That means that a person thinks and recognizes as true that despite any of his qualities, any accomplishments, any successes, any praises or honor that he's getting, they do not become him. That means that it's not, I'm successful because it's me. No, you're not. It's because Hashem blessed you with that, with those talents, and with that sechel, with that intelligence to be able to achieve what you achieve. And Hashem gave you siyata dishmaya. Hashem gave you help and followed you all the way to help you to get to where you are. None of it really is yours, right? So certainly feelings of superiority over other people. Okay, so there's no reason. Ramchal says there's certainly no reason to have feelings of being above and better than other people. Okay, and he says because of two limitations. Number one, whatever a person lacks or a person is missing, right? No one is perfect. So even if I have an unusual talent, there must be someone who has a better talent, same as mine, but is still better than me. It means that my talent's not really perfect, right? Number two, that because of these imperfections in every quality, in this, let's say the talent, whatever talent may be, it means that every human being is lacking, has imperfections in some areas. No one is perfect, whether it's talents, whether it's strength of character. On top of it, even in the areas in which one is excellent at, again, whether, let's say, computers or organization or arts, whatever it is, when one looks deeper into it, takes the time to look into it, he will see that he does not have it all. Doesn't. Because there is always someone above me. Someone who is better, has a better imagination, has a better way of organizing, is smarter, understands quicker, or speaks better. And others might even have more. Others might even have more of intelligence or talents or whatever it is. Ramchal explains the first reason for whatever a person lacks, right, or a person is missing, that every human being is missing, as it is impossible for a person, no matter at what level of perfection he may be, right? Doesn't matter how perfect, how I worked on my organization. I worked on my writing, and really it's perfect. No matter what a high level I have of perfection I may have, it is impossible not to have imperfection. I mean, even that expertise that I have is not perfect. That's what it means. Yes, I'm an expert at whatever it is, but even that expertise is still not perfect. Why? Either because of a result of his nature when he was born. That's the way I was born, right? So I might have something that is really not allowing me to achieve an even higher level of whatever it is. Like we said, let's say we're saying about writing, right? Or it could be as a result of the deeds of his family or relatives or how he was brought up. Or it could be as a result of events that happened in a person's life, right? That would make a person become imperfect. So let's say financially a person was well off, and then everything is gone, the wealth is gone. So the person is not able to grow even more, right? Or it could be that because of whatever a person my actions. My action did not, because of my action, I wasn't able to even become a better expert. Okay? As Shlomo HaMelech said, En tzadik ba'aretz asher ya'aseh tov velo yecheta. Shlomo HaMelech says, there is no one who is perfect. There is no one in the entire world that has done good and has not sinned. There's no one. It means we all have blemishes. All of us. We all have flaws, imperfections. And because of that, there's no room to feel superior, to feel better, to feel above all others, or better than others. Even if a person has many positive qualities, but because of his imperfection, that will be enough to take away a little of the positive qualities, even in his own eyes. That means that person is not going to feel, oh, you see, I'm so good at this, I'm good at this, I'm good at this, I have such a good midah, I'm good, and on and on. And he's going to make a list of 200 good midot. Ramchal says no. Even if you have 2 great midot, and it is true, you still have imperfections in you. You still need to realize that you have imperfections in you. Ramchal says that even for qualities for which a person feels deserving of praise or are in fact limited. We're limited. Even though, yes, it is true, I was able to write an article that was out of this world. Wow. But that article is still limited. Someone, somewhere, could still improve on that. And he brings an example and says, consider the achievement of a chacham who studies, right? And he might think, okay, I ought to feel really above everyone else, right? Because I worked very hard to educate myself. I poured hours and hours over books. I spent so many hours writing things down and explaining and understanding and nonstop, that my knowledge is above everyone else, right? It may be true. It may be true, right? But, and the Ramchal says, the fact that that person was able to spend so many hours learning and spend so much time on opening up his books and effort to really become a brilliant person and someone who is a very high intellectual, someone who is very smart and studies a lot, especially if you're talking about Torah, that person, that brilliant mind, is closer to Hashem, closest to Hashem. Hashem has blessed this individual with very high intelligence. Yet, Ramchal says, there is no scholar, no chacham, who does not make a mistake and who does not need to learn from his colleagues. And not only that, but also from his students. So we see that superiority, feelings of being better and above anyone else, is really limited. It's really limited. Yes, you may have those feelings and you may be on top of everyone else, at the top of the world, but there is always someone who can be higher than you and better than you, better than me and higher than me. And it says about Rabbi Akiva Yiger, who was the father-in-law of the Khatam Sofer. He lived in Hungary about 300 years ago, maybe a little more, a little less. And he was about to publish a document on halakha. And he wrote a letter to his son, because he was sending the document to his son. And he was asking his son to review the whole document and to be very careful that if anywhere it says my talmidim or my talmid and in the document, that word talmid should be really erased, and he should really refer to the talmidim with very great respect and not as talmidim, because one who knows and who learned more from whom, he says, who learned more from whom? Did I learn more from my talmidim, or did my talmidim learn more from the teacher? Why? Because a teacher must be ready and prepare himself for all kinds of questions. Can't just stand and give over information. It's not enough. A teacher really must look into whatever it is that he's teaching to make sure that he understands and he knows how to pass along the information. And not only that, but also that he has to be prepared for questions that students might ask, right? So because of the student, the teacher was able to actually go deeper and further in his learning. And so the Rabbi Akiva was saying, don't call my students. Refer to them as Rav and give them kavod. Ramchal goes on, that was just an example of humility. And so Ramchal goes further and says, for a person who is just thinking straight, a person who just wants to learn and not thinking about kavod, is not thinking about that he's above anyone else, Ramchal says there is an even more basic reason not to look at yourself as being superior to your fellow friends. Even if he has a zechut of being a truly great chacham, when he looks deeply and thinks the matter over, he'll see that there is no ground for any ga'ava or any such feelings. Why? One who is more intelligent and has more knowledge than others is doing only what is natural to him. He was blessed with good brains to learn and go deep in his learning and get knowledge that is not available just for anyone and everyone. Just like a bird that flies, he's flying high because it's his nature. He has that power to be able to fly very high. Or An ox that is pulling, is able to pull a heavy plow. He's able to do it because he's very strong. He's using his strength. So too it is with a chacham. Because if others would have been blessed with the same amount of intelligence that he has been blessed with, they too would have been on his level. So one who has lots of knowledge, the Ramchal says, and we learn this also from different sources, that such a person is actually obligated, he has to share his knowledge and teach others who need it. As Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai teaches us in Perek Avot, Im lamadta Torah harbe. If you learned a lot of Torah and you have acquired a lot of Torah, a lot of knowledge, al tahzik tova le'atzmecha. Teach others. Don't keep it for yourself. Don't think, I am able, I know so much, nobody else knows it like me. Because you were created for that. You were created to learn at such a level and be able to share and pass it on to others. Having natural intellectual abilities is only an indication of a responsibility to learn much Torah and to teach others. Torah knowledge is not simply about to collect knowledge, to know one more book, another book of Torah, another Gemara. That's not what it's all about. It must be passed on to others. We see this in Moshe Rabbeinu. At one point during the leadership of Moshe, the Zikanim, the elders, died, and Moshe was left alone. And he said, Hashem, it's a very heavy burden. Hashem said, no problem, Moshe. Go, and I want you to gather 70 elders, Zikanim. They're going to help you to guide the nation, to judge them, to teach them. But then Moshe was very worried. Very worried because he said, Hashem has blessed me with so much. That means I have to use my abilities, my talents. But if I'm going to have help, I'm not going to be able to use my talents fully. It was only when Hashem said to him, Moshe, do not worry. You're not going to be punished for that. Because I want you to have the Zekanim to help you. And for this, Ramchal spent so much time and effort on this trait. So may Hashem help us to become humble, as we learn in Perek Avot. Hakin'ah, haga'ava, v'akavod motzi'im et adam min ha'olam. Someone who is jealous, someone who has ga'ava, who has haughtiness, someone who wants a lot of kavod. This person has no room for anyone else, and for sure has no room for Hashem. He only has room for himself, because that's all that he wants. It's like filling up a cup of water to the very, very, very top. Can you add one more, just one more drop? No, because if you add just one more drop, it will spill over. It's the same. Someone who is full of himself, who thinks he's above everyone else, or someone who is very jealous, has no room for someone else, not even a drop. So on the zechut of this learning, may Hashem help us, guard us, and guide us in all that we do.